Hello everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to Cinefessions, where we talk all things media. So I'm back today with part 2 of my festival book haul. So if you guys didn't see part 1, basically what this is each year in my hometown, there is a festival and they have this tent. And inside the tent are a bunch of different like tables, games, food, just kind of random things. But my favorite table there, the reason I like going to this every year is because there are these just tables of books and they are super cheap. You get a giant plastic bag filled with books for $3, as many as you can stuff into that bag with it bursting at the seams. It doesn't matter. It's only $3. And so I, of course, just went nuts because it's been 2 years now, I guess, because they didn't have it last year because of the pandemic. And so there was just so much there this year. And part 1, I posted a bunch of stuff in that, a lot of like middle grade, young adult, things like that, media tie-in stuff in that first one. So if you've missed that, you can check it out. I'll post a link to that in the description below. But today is everything else. So it's a lot of like adult mystery, adult action, I guess. And then I'm going to wrap it up with all the Stephen King books I found, because I have, I don't know, 4 or 5, it looks like, maybe, yeah, 5-ish Stephen King books to talk about at the end, which some of them I already own, but this version of them was just too cool to pass up, so I had to grab them. And there's also actually a VHS tape that I found randomly as well, stacked amongst the table here, so I had to grab them. It was an awesome time. I had 3 giant bags of books, which is why I ended up splitting this video into 2 different parts. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the first part, and hopefully you will enjoy this second part as well. And if you do, please give it a like down below. That really does help me out. But with that said, let's not waste any more time at all. Let's dive right into part 2 of my festival book haul. I'll start off with the one VHS tape I ended up finding, and this was actually like in one of the boxes that were underneath the tables, which I think I mentioned that in the first part because some of the books I found were from those boxes. I was just being nosy and trying to find anything I could, and that's where this VHS tape came from. And I really wish that I would have dug a little bit deeper, but I had to end up leaving because we were there with family and I just didn't have the time, and it was like 1,000 degrees in that tent, so I was just dying. But it looked like there was some like Simpson VHS tapes down at the bottom too. So I'm hoping they'll be back next year, but we'll see. Anyway, so this one, like I said, was from one of those boxes, but it counted for the plastic bag $3 deal that they were doing. And so it fit in the bag. It was only like 15 cents, because if you average out the number of books I got and, you know, divide that by the $3 I spent on the bag, you're talking like 15 cents an item here, which is just ridiculous. So anyway, I ended up grabbing Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And I know that people hate these movies. They hate the prequel trilogy, but I don't. I really enjoy the prequel trilogy. I love them. I have such a good time with all 3 of them. I love Jar Jar Binks. I know he is always hated. I think he's getting a little more love now, especially since the story, I forget the actor who plays him, what his name is, but his like story of dealing with suicide and depression because of all the negative publicity that Jar Jar got when it was released, and so him kind of overcoming that, and I think that character is kind of getting a little bit more respect nowadays, which is good to see, because I always thought he was funny. I liked him, but anyway, that aside, obviously I do enjoy, you know, episodes 4 through 6 better than episodes 1 through 3, but I still enjoy the entire saga there. So yeah, very happy to have this. Now, admittedly, will I watch this on VHS all the way through? Probably not. I have it on 4K, and so why would I watch the VHS other than for the heck of it, you know, just for fun, for nostalgia reasons. This is like the original VHS release of it from 2000, so I thought that was pretty cool, so I wanted to pick it up. So why not? Another one, kind of an interesting one, at least from, in my opinion, for the VHS collection. So Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. That's the only movie in this haul, so now let's get over to the books. I'm going to start off with a big franchise here, a big series that is well known in the film world as well, because there was adaptations of these, but this is the Robert Ludlum series for the Bourne books, Jason Bourne books. This is book number 1, The Bourne Identity. And you can see this one is an older one. I don't know what year this specific print was, but let me see if I can find it real quick, just out of curiosity. Looks like 1981 is when this one is from, so it is an older one, but this is one of the original trilogy, which were, so I didn't really know much about this at all. I've actually never seen the movies. I've seen parts of them, but never in full, and so this is actually like the original trilogy was written by Robert Ludlum, and then it looks like it went on to another author and just has a ton of books in that, this like rest of the series. So I don't know if the next author, who Eric Van Lustbader, I guess is his name, because he has a bunch here that I'm going to talk about. So I don't know if there was like a year's gap in between or what happened, but this is the only one from the original trilogy that I was able to find. And I was actually at Second and Charles today because I have like book 1 and then books like 4 through 10, I guess it would be. But I need books 2 and 3 still. I was at Second and Charles and I had both of them in my hand, but I ended up finding some other things, and I just figured, you know what, these are probably ones I could find at the thrift store if I, am patient. And am I going to get through this, anytime soon? Probably not. So just hold off, look for them at the thrift store and see if you can find them for 50 cents as opposed to like $3 a pop. So anyway, book number 1, The Bourne Identity by Robert Ludlum. And then I have all of these other ones here, starting at book number 4 all the way to number, whatever I said, 10. But if I was better at what I did, I would have ordered these from, number 4 on, but I didn't do that before I started filming. And so I don't know I have no idea what book numbers these are, but this one here is The Bourne Objective, and like I said, this is written by, you can see his name there, Eric Van Lustbader, I believe is how you'd say that, and so this style is more of what you're going to see moving forward here. So this is The Bourne Objective, and then we have The Bourne Dominion, The Bourne Deception, The Bourne Betrayal, The Bourne Imperative, The Bourne Legacy, and finally, The Bourne Sanction. And so you can see all of these were written by, as I said before, Eric Van Lustbader. So a whole bunch in this series, and I believe these are books 4 through 10. And so now I just need books 2 and 3, and I'll have, the first 10 books in the series. But I don't know if I'm going to enjoy these at all, but I saw them all there. You guys know I'm a sucker for like a complete series, and though this wasn't complete, there was just a ton of books in the series, and so I did want to pick them up just because they were, basically pennies, and so super cheap, so why not add them? I might enjoy them. I have the 4 films behind me over there somewhere on Steelbook, and so I definitely want to watch those at some point, but I thought it was cool to find all of these. And now I just wish I could have found the first 2, but like I said, if I'm patient, which I hopefully will be, if I'm patient, I'll probably find the first 2 at a thrift store before I know it. I won't even remember I need them, and then all of a sudden, there they'll be. So I figured that would be a cool series to pick up, because why not when you're paying as little as I was? And so yeah, the Bourne Identity series, one by Robert Ludlum, and then the rest by Eric Van Lustbader. So those are the first books I ended up finding. So with the big series out of the way, the next one I ended up finding is Lord of the Rings, written by William Golding. So this obviously is a classic, and I do own this one, but it's like a smaller paperback, like mass market paperback, where this is the trade. And this one is in really great shape for what it is, and where I found it. And so this one is just a more readable copy to me. So this is a book where I've wanted to read this for so long. I've seen the movie years and years ago and really enjoyed it. And so I definitely want to check out the book. I actually started listening to the audiobook maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it was just the narration on it was terrible. I had to stop. I actually think Golding narrated it himself, and it was terrible. I had to turn it off. And so I figured this is one I will definitely read in the physical form. So I was happy to find this one, a very good edition of Lord of the Rings by William Golding. This next one is a series that I'd always seen when I go to like my local used bookstore, but there are so many books in this series, I never wanted to get started with it. This was there, so I figured I'd pick it up. It's kind of a random one in the middle of the series somewhere. I don't remember exactly what book number it is, but this is from the Area 51 series, and this is called The Grail. So I want to say this is like book number 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken, but this one just sounds pretty interesting, and it's really, let me see. So it looks like it's book number 5, going by the other books by the same author. This is written by Robert Doherty. So yeah, this one sounds like a really interesting series, because it's like a government cover-up for an alien contact book or series. So it sounds really cool, and it's one I eventually want to try out. but now I have like the 5th book in the series, and so I'll have to get at least the first one to get started on it to see if it's one that I would like to continue. And honestly, this is probably one I would do on audiobook just because it seems like a better format for me to read it, so I'd probably do it that way. But still a cool ad for the collection. Area 51, The Grail, written by Robert Doherty. These next 2 books were actually like the next book I needed in 2 different series. And so the first one here is the James Patterson series. This is Four Blind Mice. And so this is, the movies, what are they? Alex Cross, that's who it is. I'm trying to think of the character name. This is the Alex Cross series. And so there were movies made on, I think the first 2 have Denzel in the lead role. And then there was an Alex Cross standalone movie later on that was just a few years old now. Well, maybe now 5 or 6 years old, but so this is the 4th book in that series, and so now I have books 1 through 4, so I figured I'd grab it because of finding it so cheap. Why not pick it up? So I have not read any of these yet, but I've heard great things about them. My buddy's actually reading through this very slowly, but he's enjoyed all of them. So yeah, excited to eventually get to this one. James Patterson's Four Blind Mice. And then the second book I needed in the Game of Thrones series, or the Song of Ice and Fire series, this is A Clash of Kings, written by George R.R. Martin. So I think I showed it sometime earlier this year that I ended up finding the first book in this series from the thrift store. And so I was able to find book number 2 from this festival book haul, so even cheaper than at the thrift store, which is always cool. But this one is in really great shape. They had some of the later books in the series, but they were just really beaten up. So I figured, you know what, just hold off. You'll find them better probably at the thrift store when you get around to them, because look, like, this is tiny font, super chunky. Like, these are ones that I will likely do on audiobook, but that's like what my gut says. But then I mentioned that to my buddy. I just remembered this as I was saying that, and he said there are so many characters. This is really one you probably want to do in the physical format, just because you're going to want to flip back and forth a lot. So I don't know if these will be like the best readable copies for me, because I tend to like the trade paperback oversized editions a little bit better, but I have these now, and for the cheap price, if I am starting to love it, I can continue on the series. And so this is a good book to find for the collection. So the Game of Thrones series, or the Song of Ice and Fire series, whatever you want to call it, this is book number 2, A Clash of Kings, written by George R.R. Martin. These next 4 books are actually all written by the same author. So I was listening to, I think it was Crime Junkie, the podcast, which of course is a true crime podcast, and they did a story on there, and at the end mentioned that there was actually a book based on this by Mary Higgins Clark. And so ever since then, I added that to my wish list or whatever, and I knew I wanted to find it, and I wanted to hold off because I was certain I would find it cheap at some point at the thrift store or something like this, and I got lucky and did. And so that one is the Mary Higgins Clark book entitled Where Are the Children? So this one, I don't really remember what the story was about that I was listening to on that podcast, but I know this is one that I wanted to check out because it was a really interesting story when I listened to it. It's been a long time now, and so I've forgotten at this point. But this is one of her more well-known stories, and so it's definitely one I wanted to check out from her. Probably the first one I'll actually end up reading from her. So I grabbed Where Are the Children, but then I was like doing a Google search for the best of her books. And then I got back to the festival, and I didn't remember any of them. But these ones looked like ones that I thought I saw on that list, and so I grabbed them. The first one here is Daddy's Little Girl. And then we have The Cinderella Murder, which this one is actually written with Alifair Burke as well. And she actually has some that were written with her daughter, I think, too. But I didn't grab any of those. And then the last one I grabbed was While My Pretty One Sleeps. And so Mary Higgins Clark is kind of just a mainstream mystery author, I guess, mystery/thriller. So I'm hoping these will be interesting. The one I was most interested in was Where Are the Children? But hey, I found these, so I figured I'd pick them up. There was actually a bunch there, but these ones looked the most interesting out of them. Cinderella Murder, I know, was on the list that I was looking at. That's supposed to be one of her better ones. And so I figured, grab them, see how they go. This one, I believe, was as well. The only one I'm not positive about was While My Pretty One Sleeps. So if you know anything about these, let me know down below. Is there one that I should prioritize over another? I don't know that people watching this video are going to be big Mary Higgins Clark's readers, but maybe one of you is, and you can help me out down below. But yeah, so I had to grab these four. Again, these are just like adult mystery / thrillers. Going to be very mainstream, so not typically what I would read, but hey, I at least want to check out Where Are the Children, and then we'll go from there. So 4 books from Mary Higgins Clark, the only 4 in my collection now. So let's wrap this up with some Stephen King books that I found while I was there, and I was so happy to find these because usually these are, picked up right away, but I got lucky and there was a handful here. So the first one I grabbed simply because I didn't own it already, and I'm trying to get as many of his books in my collection as I can, which actually thinking about it, I really need to get back to reading some of his because I was on a kick there for maybe, 6 to 8 months where I was just reading one after another, and then I kind of stopped, and so I need to get back into it. But anyway, the first one here is Thinner by Stephen King, and this cover is not very good at all, but it's one I recall seeing in the past. It's a very popular printing of the book, and I just noticed here there's a Borders sticker on it, so fantastic. I think Borders is just super nostalgic to me because it's one of the first places I remember loving as a bookstore, and I used to go there all the time. That's like the first place I remember really shopping for books as a kid, and so I just love Borders. I was so sad when it shut down, but anyway, so the first one was Thinner, and again, not a great cover, but the rest of these I grabbed because of the covers. They are fantastic. Actually, this one I don't think I actually had in my collection either, but it has an excellent cover. Now, these are not first printings. I should point that out. They're just, at least I don't think they are anyway, but they're just cool. Actually, this one actually is, it says. So this is The Dead Zone by Stephen King. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is actually a first printing, as it says down there, first printing 1980. So maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't really care, I guess. I'm not looking to sell it at all, but it's a cool cover. Looks awesome. So very happy to have The Dead Zone in the collection now. And then moving on to some that I definitely own already, but these covers were just much cooler than the ones I already owned. I'm trying to sift through this real quick to see. So I don't know. This one was originally released in hardcover in 81. This one is from 82, it looks like. But this is Cujo, which is probably going to be one of the next ones I read just because it's available on audiobook from Hoopla, and so I can read it for free, so why not? But this cover is just fantastic. I love it. It's so simple, and the spine looks awesome, and these are in, pretty darn good shape for the age that they are. So Cujo, and then one of my all-time favorite Stephen King covers. Now, I talk about this all the time, but I've read Pet Sematary in the past, and I didn't love it as much as most people do. To me, it is still my favorite of his. But anyway, Pet Sematary. And this is like my favorite cover of Pet Sematary that I've ever seen. This is one I've always wanted in the collection, but I've just never seen it while I was out and about. And so when I saw this, I knew I had to grab it. Just the cat on the bottom here. It's just a fantastic cover. And then on the back, the quote from, what is that, US Weekly? Publishers Weekly. So yeah, this was such a cool find. So happy to have that one. This is not an original first printing. I don't believe. This is from 1983. Yeah, this is actually from 1984, originally published in 1983, but just a fantastic cover there. And then last but not least, probably the coolest cover in my collection now. This is just fantastic, and it's a short story collection that I absolutely love of his. It's like really the first Stephen King I ever read was from this short story collection. Night Shift by Stephen King, and you can see the eyes looking through there, and then it has this step back cover which just looks fantastic. Oh my god, it's so freaking cool. I love it. And so yeah, I was so happy when I saw this. I couldn't believe that no one had snatched this up already. So yeah, just a fantastic cover. It's so simple, it's so creepy and effective, and it's just perfect. I think this is one of the coolest covers. So between Pet Sematary and Night Shift, I mean, like, one day I might like Night Shift better, the next I might like Pet Sematary better, but either way, I am so happy to have both of these editions in my collection because the versions that I did have previously were like I guess it'd probably be like the either late 90s or early 2000s versions that I picked up when I was in high school. So I'm not going to get rid of those, but I have these now, which these will definitely not be getting rid of because these covers are fantastic. So yeah, these two plus all of these, I just hit the microphone, so I apologize for that. But all of these Stephen King books, such a cool find, especially for the price. Like, that's just fantastic. So that is it. That's everything I ended up grabbing from the festival book haul. All right, guys, so I'm not going to hold them all up like I normally do because they're already like falling all over the place just sitting on my table next to me, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and let me know down in the comments below if you guys have read any of these. What should I put to the top of the list? What maybe do I not need to waste my time with? I'm especially interested if there are any readers of Mary Higgins Clark that are watching this video. Please give me some recommendations based on the 4 I have, or if there's anything else I should try to seek out from her, let me know because I always see her books at the thrift store. So give me any of those recommendations or anybody else down below. I always appreciate that support. As always, if you guys did enjoy this video, please give it a like down below. That really does help me out. And like I always say, I don't just talk books, I talk all things media, be it books, movies, video games, manga, graphic novels, collectibles. If it's media related, I'm interested in it. And if you are too, you might consider subscribing. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for today. I just want to say thank you all so much for watching, and I want to encourage you to consume some media today. I'll catch you next time.